Alan, how you doing? You all right?
Hi. What's the score here? Okay, well, first of all,
We're going
what
with,
do you think of
yeah.
Camelia's story? I've already kind of
What
explained
did I
what
think?
I thought. So what do you think?
Um, yeah, I'm very similar. I think not the greatest, not the worst. I didn't have that much of a negative opinion. It was like like edging on like good on. I'm more on the positive side compared to you. Seem to be more on the negative side on the
Yeah.
whole thing. Um, I just to go back to what was being said in chat at the time about how Camilla is only really interested in Rover for his strength and everything. And I think it's a case of like both are true.
I agree.
And what I
I
mean by
said
that
that,
is,
by the way. I just want to clarify. I agree both are true.
yeah, it's like how and whether we like it or not, some people, women or men, whatever, they find wealth attractive.
Yes.
Yeah. And so if someone's rich, they find that attractive. And if they weren't rich, they probably wouldn't find that person attractive anymore. I think that's what was trying to be said before. And it's like um so I do really understand that point of view,
For
but
sure.
again, I th yeah, I do see that the analogy that was presented in the story that I thought was quite interesting is that how she's going around and she's always talking about people as such as seeds, like these candidates, these seeds,
Yeah.
right? And that she says in the story as well how she's not really interested in flowers so much. She's just interested in taking care of them because
Right.
she's finding these seeds and she wants them to grow up big and strong. She wants them to grow up as a big tree because she was going on about her issue with overclocking and that
Mm-hmm.
her ability is outstretching farther than she can support herself, and that leads to her like basically crashing out.
Yep.
So that's also plays into her design as well of her using these vines. She is like a vine. She is a vine, and she cannot survive without a large tree to wrap herself around. That's why
And
she's
that's
always
Rover.
looking for and that yeah, exactly, and that
Yep.
does become Rover, and
I
that's why
agree.
when Rover's not there, she's looking for another seed that she can, for lack of a better term, groom to
Mm-hmm.
become another big tree. And then when those people do not become those trees that she's looking for, those big pillars of strength that she's looking for, that
Mm-hmm.
she needs to support herself literally,
Yep.
she gets disappointed, and that's when she finds Rover. She like quite literally wraps herself
Yep.
around him because he allows her to reach and she to reach up towards the sun that she's constantly growing up towards.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something that a lot of people it was very subcontext kind of thing. It wasn't in the
I think it
forefront.
was
There's like a
very
few lines
literal.
ever in there.
I think it was very
Oh yeah, it
literal
was very
though. Like
little.
by the end of it, it's like it's very obvious that the point they get across is
Mm,
Rover's there in every timeline to pull her back from whatever she's facing, right? Whatever struggle she's facing,
mm,
he becomes her rock and she needs him. And that was I think that's very clear
mm.
and I find it strange that people are like, especially in my chat, are like, "Oh no, it's not that." I disagree with that. Or like that's not it. It's just about power. I'm like, "How did we not play the same story?" Like it's they literally make it so obvious. Or I felt as though that anyway. So I completely agree with
I
you.
mean, we're in a difficult situation because we don't know a Rover that isn't OP. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't have that point of context to see like if Rover was like underpowered, if he wasn't as strong as Camilla needs him to be, would she still be interested in? So we can't. This is going to be pure just hypothesis at this point, because in every timeline that Camilla does meet Rover, he's always OP
Mm-hmm.
because it's just
Yep.
the nature of who Rover is.
Yep.
But I do completely understand the point of view, like because Rover is OP, that's why she's interested. And then we
Sure.
can very much theorize that if he wasn't OP, then she might not be as interested anymore. And
Because
I think
she
it's like you're
needs it.
saying that
They go hand in
she,
hand. She needs the strength, like you say. She needs the
yeah,
strength of them so they can support her.
yeah,
And then she becomes once she knows that, and that's ticked off for her. It's like, oh, this person
mm,
can be there. They can be support. Like I can grow with them in a way. We can uplift each other. It becomes like a mutually
yeah.
beneficial thing in that kind of way. Like it's not all power's
I
the
think
check
what might,
mark. Power's the check
yeah,
mark in my view.
I think what might have been maybe you meant this or maybe you didn't mean this. like it seemed like you might have been saying that even if Rover wasn't as strong as they were, Camellya would still be interested in him.
No, I
And
never said
I'm
that.
not
I
sure if
never
that's
said that.
true.
I never
Well,
said that. No.
I mean, that might have been what might be just like a lost in the conversation. I
No,
mean,
no.
I think that's what they were saying in chat. Like, if Rover wasn't so strong, then Camellya wouldn't be as interested.
Sure.
I
I know.
think that's what
I
they were trying
agree.
to
No,
say.
I agree. But there are. I don't know. There were people who specifically said that it was just power alone, and I completely disagree
Mm,
with it.
yeah. Okay. So I think that's what it was as well. I'm interested in your opinion on this because you said this to me off stream, like you like death flags for Camellya,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like this story, this quest, proved you right or what? Because you saying like one of her sides has to quote unquote die or whatever it is or whatever it is. And do you feel like that's what you got in this story?
Not really. I don't feel that that
Mm,
was a thing for me at all. I feel like some people suggested her fighting her internal conflict would have been a lot cooler to see. Like literally as the
yeah.
ending, because that's the whole point of this
Mm,
is her fighting her internal conflict of like who she wants to be. I feel like and who what she wants to represent and who she is like going forward. How does she want
yeah.
to relive her past, which is what the red kind of represents, right? The red represents her kind of like overclocking on that state of like being on the edge, being that kind of state. Does she want to represent her past or go towards her future, which is what she end up
Mm,
choosing, right? She's like, oh, I won't look back. I'm just gonna live in the present, sort of thing. Like she's a present sort of person, not a past or a future, and so because of that, it limits the way like they can't kill her off in that way, right? But they kill off the
yeah.
idea of it, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making any sort of sense, but they kill off the idea of
Y-
that for me. And it's like it's whatever. I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't feel dissatisfied because she didn't quote unquote die, but they put that
Mm,
Camellya to rest. Right, that's what I felt like.
yeah.
They gave closure to that side of her, which is okay. It's not the same thing as having like a death in a way, but it's a form of closure. It's a form of closure.
Yeah, because there's like four different Camellias in that story.
Yeah.
There's the younger Camellia with the longer hair. Then there's
Mhm.
actually maybe there's more because we actually saw that she was a part of the Fraxidus at one point
Mhm.
as well. Like actually in
Mhm.
the past we saw that. And then there's also the Lady Flower Camellia. Then we've got the Camellia that we know, but then there's also like the overclock version of Camellia, the red Camellia, for lack of a term. So
Sorry,
we've got like
Gasper.
several
One
different
sec,
versions of
Gasper.
Camellia.
You're saying exactly what I tried to say in bad words. I agree. She let her pasta die. Yeah. Sorry. Carry on.
Oh, yeah, that was something I actually did want to bring up as well. Like you said that because we're not exploring, we're not like unlocking her old memories, and that's a cocktease, and I completely understand that. The analogy that I brought up when I was going through the story is like, it's kind of like, and it's kind of like PTSD,
Mhm.
and it promotes it prompts the question like, if it was possible to if someone has gone to war and they've come back and they have severe PTSD or whatever it is like, and it's affecting all aspects of their life, it makes them really almost unable to function in regular life. Would it be a good idea for them to completely lose all their memories just to get rid of that PTSD? And
Mhm.
also, if they did do that, would they want to get those memories back? Because if they did get those memories back, it would bring back
Sure.
all the PTSD kind of issues. So I it would have been a little bit interesting to see, like, to go like back into the time and see more of her before she lost her memories. I get that, but it's like, I think it was fine. I think it made sense for her
Mhm.
to not want those memories back, in my
Sure.
opinion.
It's one of those
Yeah,
things though,
yeah,
because the reason why I say, because I agree, it makes sense for her character not to have those experiences back, because those experiences are what make her overclock. Like I say, it's kind of like the reference to PTSD. I completely get. But the
yeah.
difference is Rover also could experience those things. He could have the power to actually experience her past and also chose not to. Or maybe he did and we never saw it, it was off screen. We don't know, right? But Camellya, I
Mm,
can understand not doing it. But Rover did have the opportunity to. So and the fact that we got to play both of them going through the Matrix, the devs gave the
hmm
option to do that without infringing upon Camelia's want to not ever see it, right? So it could have
yeah.
gone both ways for me. I don't know. Like I feel like it would have been interesting to see something of like a past, apart from like the Petal Leaf Village or whatever it was. Um, something other or to experience something a little bit more, but not go the full way, right? Like, here's a
Mm.
section, and then that makes her be like, oh no, I choose not to see the rest of this. And then it moves on. Like, that also would have been fine, but we really didn't get even that. Do you know what I mean? It was just kind of like a nope, nothing at all. Which is
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I also agree with you on the final boss battle, like with the impermanence her. I'm like, why was it her? And it was like just random, like okay, just
The
throw a
boss was
random
shit. Right, the boss
boss
was
in there.
just was fucking
Yeah,
that's whatever.
it would have been cool if it wasn't just if it was us fighting against the red-haired version of Camellya, because it's a battle between
It's the
the
internal
white-haired
struggle.
Camellya and the red-haired Camellya. It is
Yeah.
exactly so, and that would have been really cool. Of like the white-haired Camellya fighting against the red-haired, and then when she's fighting, it seems like she's gonna lose. That's when Rover comes in to like be her support to like take
Mm-hmm.
down her counterpart.
Yeah,
I think that would have
again,
been a lot cooler. So
taking
I
her,
I definitely
saving her
do.
from the overclocking again, pulling her back, thus
Yeah.
solidifying the whole point of the story, which is
Mm,
Rover being, like you said, her rock, her thing that she needs, her support, to really truly
mm,
understand herself. And that would have been a lot more
mhm.
symbolic, I feel like. I agree.
Okay. And on the point of like Rover's importance in this story and the way that the Kuro has implemented Rover into the story, I know you had a lot of issues with Showkeeper's story about
Mm-hmm.
how fuck why is everything always revolving around Rover? Fuck, it was like that kind of impression. Do you get the same impression with this one as well? Because I have heard some other people say some things like with in what was it? Sorry. In Jin's quest, there's Rover's all the way through there. Chanli's quest, Rover's all the way through there. Uh, um, so the Showkeeper, it's Rover. It's just Rover. Camilla, it's just always Rover. It feels like they aren't. I mean, I also have starting to feel this as well. It doesn't feel like their story. It's always Rover's story about them. I want it to be about
It's kind of
them
like Rover's
first.
POV, right? Do you know
Yeah.
the character I actually feel that in Woowa that did the best job at this is actually Yinlin's companion quest. I feel like
Yes, I
we
agree. Actually, that.
actually got like
Mm,
Yinlin and it was about her and
yes.
River was happy to be involved at the time because we met her, right? But it was still a Yinlin story. Um
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. Yinlin's story, like the way it felt, didn't feel as satisfying for me compared to, say, Jian's story quest. I love Jian's story quest. Like, it
I
was a
thought
bit
Joe's story
slow,
quest
but
is good.
I thought it
Yeah.
was amazing. But like the Yinlin story, I didn't get the same kind of satisfaction, even though I absolutely love Yinlin, as you
Mm-hmm.
well know. But yeah, I think that was a good implementation because Yinlin is already in the middle of doing her thing, and then we
Right.
just happened to come across her at this time while she's already in the middle of doing this thing, and that made a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sense, and that really
Mm-hmm.
weaved Rover into
Yeah.
her story quite naturally. Whereas everything else is like
It
the whole
seems
thing with
yeah.
Showkeeper, it's like everything revolves around Rover, and like not they would not be this person. They would not
I guess
do whatever
people
they're
can
doing without Rover.
argue that like, oh, Shorekeeper's companion quest was the main story for 1.4. So it's kind of like you kind of can't separate the two, and I could concede that point to people, right? I could concede that point.
Mm,
But with Camellya, I feel like it's kind of it's a bit more difficult because it's a we're understanding more about Camellya as a person, kind of. Well, this is another thing that actually bothered me. We're understanding more about Camellya through the alternate realities of herself, and we do get lots of times where we are as Camellya, going through and experiencing things as her, and Rover is there.
mm,
So I don't think it's as much as like the Shorekeeper thing was.
mm.
But to me, some people disagree with me, but that's okay. That the fact that we see the alternate Camellya's that aren't the Camellya that we know, kind of actually takes away of the impact of us learning about Camellya herself because they're not the same kind of versions that we know or we'll get to know. I don't know.
Mm.
Maybe that's just how my brain is, but I don't know.
I mean, I guess it's like the different sides of Camilla, and we get to see like the way that the routes she could have gone. I mean, my interpretation of going through like the different versions, like it's not really so much a different Camilla entirely. It's just like a different point in time, like the no,
Sure,
you are right. It is a different timeline, but
it's a different
yeah.
timeline, and it's we don't like people can change depending on the experiences they go through, right? So it's not the same
Mm,
Camilla with the same way of thinking necessarily as all the others. So it's hard to determine. And it is like someone's mentioned it is kind of like someone with amnesia. Who do they become when you don't have any memories, right? You don't know if they're the same person. She
yeah.
said so herself, right? She kind of said so herself, like what kind of person if you don't have any memories, don't know your prior self, how do you know how to rebuild yourself, sort of thing. So
Yeah, I said the same thing as well. Like, if when you lose all your memories, are you still the same person?
right,
You know,
right, right,
because
right.
your memories are don't exactly define you, but they can definitely. Without your memories, you don't have those experiences, and without those experiences, you don't have certain
Mm-hmm.
viewpoints on the way things are, and you change.
Mm-hmm.
You become quite literally a very
Sure.
different person. So again, that goes into what I was saying earlier about we because there's the sides of Camellia that was lost, like quote unquote died because she lost her experience,
Mm-hmm.
lost all her memories, so she becomes a new version of herself, like the Lady Flora version of Camellia and the other version before that, because she's lost her memories like in law like 2 or 3 times. Like she lost the memories before
Mm-hmm.
she went to Plantfall Village, and then she lost the memories later on later when after she became Lady Flora to become the Camellia that we know.
I thought that
So
part of the
I'm actually
story was a little bit confusing at first, like because there was like
yeah
two different times, or like the points at which she lost her memories. For a minute I was like thinking to myself, okay, what time are we talking about?
yeah no
Um,
she lost them twice.
yeah.
Even in the canonical timeline that we understand, from my understanding anyways, that she lost them twice. Once before Plantfall Village, and then once later after she becomes Lady Flora.
Okay.
So I'm interested to see what happens before that Plantfall Village thing.
But we'll
But
see if they ever
yeah.
do. You know what I mean? Like, um, I
Hmm.
do agree with you, Gasper, that Wu does sometimes struggle to convey plot. I agree. That's why I gave it like a 5. Because the plot was kind of neither here nor there. There wasn't actually that much that actually happened in this story. It was more about the dialogue, and the dialogue was just kind of average. Do you agree that the actual like writing was is kind of shit. Like, okay, hear me out. To me, it screams fan fiction archive of our own level writing. Like, it's not great. They try and get across themes, but they do so in a way that sometimes feels a bit too, I don't know, improper. But maybe that's
Hmm.
just a Gatch thing. I don't know, but it felt a bit too fan fiction to me.
Again, for me, that particular part goes into Rover's implementation into the story. Like the way it felt like they tried to force Rover into her story, like into her backstory at all these points. Like that goes into what I was saying about how they're constantly trying to make everything revolve around Rover, and it's like it feels like they're bending over backwards to do that. And so, but when it comes to like her internal struggles, when she's like talking about herself, that when she's like having her own little monologues about her own experiences, I didn't mind that at all. But it
Mm-hmm.
always when she's talking about Rover, it's like, oh, okay, fine, fine, okay, whatever. So
That's what
that
I
was
feel like.
my
It's
problem.
clearly a fan service moment, right? Like they're clearly doing whatever. I don't really think too much about it. Like it is what it is. Um, but it is kind of like a,
Yeah,
okay, I get it. I know what you're doing. It's not adding much to my experience, but I get the will for some people. I'm not gonna knock it for that.
yeah. I'm still gonna say that I really hope that the next companion story quests quite literally have Neron and nothing to do with Rover, like at all. I want it to be completely from the point of view of the character that we're going to that is the companion story quest. Because in my opinion, the main story quest is where Rover's at. Everything
Mm-hmm.
in the main story quest should revolve around Rover because it's
It's his
his her
story.
or her if
Yeah,
you have yeah it's
their
their
story.
story, right?
Yeah.
Whereas where yeah it's just let's get into pronouns anymore. But like the companion story should be about those characters, and it felt like it was more to do about Rover in her story than it was about Camellya, and I felt that was a bit of a loss in my opinion. Keep
I
everything
don't
about
know if I
Rover in the main story quest,
entirely
everything
agree
else in
with
the other one.
that personally. Like I didn't feel it was too much on on Rover's part, but I feel like it was almost equal. But maybe equal is too much for a companion story
No, exactly.
quest.
That's what I'm saying. 50-50.
Yeah, it shouldn't be 50-50. It should be like 10-90.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I feel like
that's my opinion.
we pretty much are kind of similar on most of it.
Yeah, I didn't have. I'm definitely more on the more positive side of things.
Sure.
Like you're saying, you're giving it maybe a 6 in
Six
total.
of the six,
I'm more on
yeah.
like I'm giving it more like a 7.5. I'm a bit higher. I would
Okay, that's fine.
um the way it felt for me like satisfaction wise it's very much in line with Yinlin. Like I enjoyed Yinlin's story quest but I didn't feel as satisfied, whereas with Jian's story quest I felt more satisfied. So Yeah, I'm
I'm sad
more
it
positive about
wasn't
the story.
better though. It's one of the things I feel kind of frustrated that it wasn't better because I don't know. I felt like there's just something missing. There was just something like that didn't tie it together in a way that I felt was wholly satisfying. But
Mm.
it's not bad. It's not bad. It's totally fine. It's good. It was enjoyable, but like it just felt there was something for Camellya of how much people kind of expected from her. It kind of fell a little bit
Mm.
short on that delivery. But yeah.
On the music though, you gave it good music. I mean, the music that we got was fine, but in the background sounds in some areas, I wanted it to be a bit darker. Like when she's going through the whole
Mm.
overclocking thing, it was a little too subtle for me. I
I
wanted
needed
it to
more of
be like it,
overclocking Camellya. Actually, I wanted more of that.
yeah,
I wanted to see
like
more of
in the
her
Resonator
actually.
showcase.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Resonator showcase, the trailer for Camellya when she goes into overclocking mode and it starts getting really dark and like, that really
Yeah.
creepy, really like more nefarious. I wanted more of that, and it was a little bit too subtle for me.
No, that's fair. That's fair. It's very valid. No, that's definitely valid. I was kind of annoyed, but like there was like a lot of emphasis on Camellya remembering a certain theme or a certain tune, kind of like Shorekeeper in a way. Um,
Yeah.
that she always hums, and that was never really taught about. That was never really a
Mm.
musical presence that much in the story. That could have that's something I did mention before. Um, but yeah, no, bit gritty up. Seeing more of Camellya overclocking or more of that side of her would have been really cool. We didn't really get much of it.
I agree.
The whole point
Mm.
is, her past affecting her mental state and her overclocking. Because mental state and overclocking are linked; they literally go hand in hand, right? And to not see more of that would have been a shame. Or to
Mm.
even like, they could have even done a really cool cutscene of them showing what Kurei's overclocking was truly like. Like I know we got a point where we could see her restrained, but like actually like
Yeah.
seeing something visually might have been really cool. And then we could be like, oh, that's how bad it could have been. Oh, that's how like the stakes weren't really there. Like, oh, that's how bad it could have been. That's why it's like really bad for her to do this. That would have made it a lot better for me to actually see the consequences of overclocking in a big way.
Yeah.
Could have made this a lot more impactful. I think that's what was missing for me overall.
Yeah, we saw the aftermath and we didn't actually see her going nuts and like actually like wrecking all because she says like all the tacit discords didn't really stand a chance. They were feeble and that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. I'm like, yeah, it would have been cool to see that. Again, that goes into like show don't tell. I mean, they were telling
Yeah.
there. They should have really shown just that one scene or even just I mean, it could have been us controlling Camilla like in her red form and just like wrecking everything in the entire area and just, all these vines and stuff like just
Mm-hmm.
pouring out of all the walls, all the floors and that sort of thing. That would have been pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do agree on that. I mean, it did miss that one scene, but mm, yeah, that's my opinion. So I'm very much in the same line. I think as you, but on the
Yeah.
more positive side, out of
Yeah,
the
I
two.
don't hate it. I just
Either
want to say
way,
I don't
basically.
hate it. I'm just very critical when it comes to stories and anything. And I will compare it to other gadgets. I will compare it to other media because guess what? It's still a story we experience. It's still an hour and a half of our time, and I feel like if we experience it, I get to compare it to anything I want to. I'll compare it to anything else
Hmm.
that I see. I think that's a very fair thing to do. To be like, oh, you should only compare it to
Yeah.
other gacha stories is kind of like a stupid take to me because it's like it prevents you from being critical about it in a
Yeah,
way
I
that
have
makes
never
sense.
done that, and I've said the same thing when I live in my criticisms against horror stories, particularly fucking Honkai Star Rail. Yeah, there was like, oh, but for gacha though, it's all right. I don't care. No,
Yeah,
if that's your barometer of what's good, well, first of all, read a book, play another game, go out and touch
literally
grass.
what I say. Read any book, watch another movie. No, for sure.
Yeah,
Because
I was actually in a bit of a not really an argument, a bit of a conversation about the Honkai Star Rail story last night
oh,
on my stream. It
brilliant.
was that was fun. I love going on my rants against Honkai Star Rail. Fuck that game.
I love your okay rants, bro. I share a lot of your thoughts on that too. It's so funny.
I love like the way things keep going as well. Like slowly, more and more people are coming to the side. Like, yeah, looking back, it wasn't that good. I'm like, yeah, I've been saying that since the start. Fuck.
No, it's definitely interesting. I think it's good to be critical and objective about it, and by not comparing it to other media means that you're not allowed to suddenly give like opinions on what is good and not good story. Like it doesn't make sense to
Mm,
me. People should be
Hmm.
able to compare it to anything they kind of want to. If they want to compare it to other gadgets, fine. But you're kind of stunting what you're allowed to say in your opinion by that point. It's like, oh, but like you say, oh,
Yeah.
it's still a 9 for gacha. It's like, okay, you're just that sounds like cope at that point to me. It's like people trying
Yeah.
to cope that it's better than it really is, rather than being honest with themselves. But yeah, it kind of is what it
It's
is, I
like
guess.
same thing for like a children's TV program as well. If it's and this is my complaint with Encore stories. Like you saying with Encore story, well, it's Encore, it's your child, it's fine. Like, yeah, no, I mean like Nemo is for children, but Nemo is still very much enjoyable for like all
Sure.
like people of all ages. And like I'm not gonna say Barney the dinosaur is just as good as Nemo. Like Nemo is just objectively better in all sorts of aspects, so just storytelling like, in general. So like for me, Encore story felt like Barney the dinosaur, where I was like hoping for a Nemo or whatever,
Hmm.
something like that. So that's my particular. That's a different conversation.
Yeah. I don't know. My experience with the Encore story was literally, I think, because people who relate to that story definitely would feel it more and get it more. So I understand that.
Mm.
Um I just felt it just felt like I said, it just felt like a fairy tale, and it was just innocent, and it wasn't complicated, and I think that played into Kura's right. Maybe this is a bit of a shadiness at Kura, because it didn't have to be that complex. It actually worked, and Kura's kind of good at that. Like
Mm.
Kura and complex writing, I don't think necessarily go hand in hand, but I think it was pretty good for what it was.
No, I
But
just
yeah,
felt like I felt there's a lot of like unnecessary necessary stuff in there, and like my main problem with
sure.
Encore Star was Ying, the NPC. Like there was
I
no
think
real
Ying
point
was
to
the
having
worst
Ying.
part about Encore Story Quest.
Yeah, and she was again. Rover wasn't really a main point in the story quest, but like, it was mainly Encore and Ying, and I felt like Ying there was like no point to Ying like at all. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they introduced Ying as like a mirror version of
Mm-hmm.
Encore, like Encore deals with
That's what
her
I thought it
grief
was
in
at
this sort of
first.
way.
But when it was
Yeah,
first the thing, Ying's talking about, oh, I know that story too. I was like, oh wait, is it because this is like Encore, like some weird thing? Like
yeah,
I said that at the very beginning. I was like, oh wait, I think it
yeah,
would have been cool to
but no,
for Encore to talk to Rover as though she's telling him the story of what she went through. Would have been
yeah, I think they should have
cool.
just every like they should have done that in a completely different way, in my opinion. And maybe I'm in the minority on that. It's like whenever they go through and they're trying to find the sword of courage, the shield of whatever, the hope, blah 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 blah. It should just be like as it was before. Like, have you seen the film Sucker Punch?
Nope.
It's a Zack Snyder film. Okay, basically, I thought what they should have done was they should have gone to a location, and then, as they did before, when we first go into the Wooded Kingdom, she just asks Rover to close his eyes, and we go into the
Mm-hmm.
Wooded Kingdom, and we climb this big thing, and we find the Sword of Courage, and then when we open our eyes again, we're in a different location on top of a mountain or something. So everything that happens in the Wooded Kingdom is basically just like us imagining, us telling a story about the stuff that we're doing in real life, and then we'll go back, and then we'll have a bit more like lore and backstory, and then go to another location, do the same thing for the shield and that sort of thing. I just feel like Ying was like forced into it. I don't see the point of Ying as a character
Sure.
in that story like at all because she was just another version of Encore like
Encore.
in
No,
general.
I 100%, because they had the same
We're already
story.
following Encore's
Yeah.
yeah exactly we're already following Encore and her story and her dealing with this grief. We're following another person with the exact same near on the exact same story with the exact same grief and dealing with the exact same way. Like what is the point of having this character here? I'm
No,
sorry.
I
And then
don't
even
disagree. I don't disagree.
yeah, and in quote unquote real life as well, like everything that a lot of the stuff that they were presenting, this happened, this happened, this happened, and like it just brought up more questions for me. Like getting the sword of courage, right? It's in the sky, in a box, which is and you can only get there by using these cloud cushion trampoline things that are only ever found in the Woolly Kingdom. So does
Mm-hmm.
that mean that Ying's mother put that sword in the box and she also has the same power as Encore does from the Woolly Kingdom? Like it was raising more questions than it
Mm-hmm.
did answers for me, in my opinion. And so Ying was a conduit to Encore's own trauma. Yeah, but Encore was already going through her own trauma.
Uncle
She
was
didn't
also
need a
there
conduit.
to tell the story too.
Yeah,
So why
she
couldn't
saw
she
Ying as a
also?
mirror.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, if she was a mirror, but if it was a case of like Ying dealing with the grief in a different way, in a more negative way, or just in a dark way, or whatever it is, then it would make sense. But the fact is, they were literally exactly the same. It lost the necessity, in my opinion. You know, I didn't see the point. It's like, what's a good example? I can't really.
I know what you're getting at. I
I can't.
100%. I
Yeah,
100% know what you're getting at with this. I don't disagree.
like if you're eating a meal, right? And you have a glass of water to satiate your thirst. You don't need another glass of water on the other side. You've already got one. Just fill the fucking glass. Like, I don't. It's really odd.
Yeah.
Uh,
It made Encore
but yeah,
realize her
that was a.
story also needed a different ending. Sure, that I can agree with, right? That I can agree with. That Ying was there to kind of make Encore make her decision at the end, but there's a lot in between. I don't know. Through
The
empathy.
thing is, though, Ying didn't have an ending. They both had stories that were unfinished. It was about them finishing that story. Ying didn't have a different ending to her story. Like Encore and Ying
Hi, I'm
went
at
on to
this. I
get that
see you,
ending.
buddy. I see you. Hi.
I don't see him. He doesn't exist.
Yeah. No, interesting. Anyway, Woowa,
Yeah.
it's they're not doing bad. They're doing pretty good. They're doing fine. They should just keep doing what they're doing. Maybe, to me, polish up a little bit on the writing department, a tiny bit, and just polish up
Mm,
a little bit on what they plan to be the takeaways from their stories and how they get there.
mm.
And that's really it.
Yeah, and
Um,
Gasper said as well, like Ying undercut Uncle's story quest by going through the same development, and then
yeah.
Arnold's also said they got their closure, the last goodbye with their mothers, even if it was a lie. They got the same ending as well. Like there was literally no point
Mm-hmm.
to like Ying as a character in that story. I'm sorry, I'm that's just maybe I'm the minority in that opinion, but I that's my gripe. Ying the NPC. I mean, that's a gripe that people have had with Genshin story as well. Like we go on these companion story quests for the like Raiden Shogun. We're like spending most of the time talking about NPCs. Who gives a fuck? I'm sorry, no. There's nothing being told about the main character through his NPC when the main backstory and everything is being explored through the NPC. And if when you've got something which is literally the exact same story as that NPC, what is the point? Just remove the NPC and just continue with Encore. That's all I wanted. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a matter of like me not enjoying Encore story quests because I don't like Encore as a character. That's not true. I don't particularly like playing as like child characters. Sure, that is what it is. But I don't hate Encore as a character like at all. I think she's fine. I think she's adorable. And I really like the part in the story when we get to the Garden of Paradise where Encore is having that more somber moment, talking about dealing with the loss of her mother and how she thought that if she was a good girl and she did all these good things,
Mm-hmm.
that would be, and she did all these things and that would make her mother get better. And she did all this in an effort to make her mother get better because she didn't want to lose her. It really felt really hard. Like it felt really heartfelt for a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
repeating myself there. And the same thing as well at the very ending when we got that closure, like you mentioned, closure where we see Encore, even though we don't see her mother, we see Encore turn around and she sees her mother and like gets that last goodbye, for lack of a better term. I really enjoyed that too. Like those scenes, the Garden of Paradise when she's talking about her loss, and the then scene that I really love those scenes. I really love those. I thought they were great. But it's like everything in the overall way it comes to again, Ying is like, which is a big significant part of the story. I'm like, okay, what?
Why? Why? Not what? Why is really the thing there.
Yeah, Ying was like a push she needed.
I
I
can
mean, we could
understand
have
that,
gone
but
through that as well. Like
we could have had that without Ying having to have been as involved as it was. I feel
again,
like.
that could have been a way to intertwine Rover into Encore's story as well. We could go to the story time like Encore is doing. We're sitting down, we're going to the Willow Kingdom, we're listening to that story, and then Rover asks, "Well, what happens after that?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. I have." And then Encore said, "I have this wooden map here that I found. I don't really know what it is." And then Rover helps her to go through that map and go through the steps
Mm-hmm.
and then and be the push to finish that story. That would have intertwined Rover
That could
very
have been a
organically
really good
into
thing for Rover too, to have some kind of like emotional character to him
exactly.
and build him a bit and
Yeah.
be like, hey, let me teach you a little bit. Like kind of being a teacher in a way. Like he becomes the one to help her
And,
finish the story that she needed.
yeah, and like I said, that would have like really organically woven Rover into that story. Like my problem with the other with Camelia's story quest is like it felt like Rover was being forced into it, whereas in Encore's story, I guess Rover was barely there. He was like there ostensibly, but if they had done that, where Rover was the push to was the instigating factor to make to go on this quest to finish that story, I think that would have been good. Just in my opinion,
Yeah,
you know.
I agree. I don't disagree. I guess you could find something about her mom, something she didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, completely.
Yeah. Do you think we'll
that
get Encore's mother at any point, or do you think that was just a bit of a pipe dream?
And she's from what was said in the story. It's like she's gone.
Dead.
She dead.
She dead.
She dead dead. She in the ground dead. I'm committing necrophilia. She's
No,
hot.
stop! Oh my god! Oh my god, that was insane. Okay, and with that, Ryugu, thank you so much.
What?
What do you?
No,
What?
no, no! I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. This is my stream now. Hi guys, welcome to Ryugu Sensei stream. There's some weird cat lady on the stream right now. Just ignore her. She's not important. All right, I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
God, I love Ryugu.